When we talk about age 60 and beyond, we are entering a stage of life where the body undergoes natural changes that make it more vulnerable to daily habits, especially those that may seem small or harmless. The heart, in particular, is a central organ that feels the impact of everything from what we eat to how we rest at night. After 60, the body's ability to repair and recover slows down, and the cardiovascular system is no longer as resilient as it once was. Arteries may stiffen due to years of wear and tear, blood pressure regulation can become less stable, and the heart muscle itself may not pump as efficiently as it did in younger years. These physiological changes mean that certain habits, which younger people might get away with, can carry far greater risks for seniors. This vulnerability is why doctors often stress the importance of identifying and avoiding silent but damaging patterns, including bedtime routines, that directly or indirectly put extra pressure on the heart. Aging also changes how the body processes stress, both physical and emotional. For seniors, something as subtle as disrupted sleep or a late-night indulgence in unhealthy foods can set off a chain reaction that strains the cardiovascular system. For example, poor sleep caused by an unhealthy bedtime habit may lead to elevated cortisol levels, which not only make it harder to fall asleep, but also raise blood pressure. Over time, this can accelerate heart wear and tear, increasing the chances of heart attacks, arrhythmias, or strokes. Seniors often underestimate how these nightly choices accumulate into long-term health outcomes. The vulnerability at age 60+ is not just about frailty, it's about the body's reduced buffer against small but chronic stressors. Another important factor tied to vulnerability after 60 is the increased likelihood of coexisting conditions. Many seniors are living with diabetes, high cholesterol, or kidney disease. Each of these conditions adds an extra layer of risk to heart health, making it even more critical to avoid habits that create additional strain. The heart does not exist in isolation. It works in harmony with the nervous system, the endocrine system, and the vascular network. When one system is weakened by age, the others have to work harder. This interconnectedness means that a bedtime habit that disrupts sleep, spikes blood sugar, or raises blood pressure can have an amplified effect compared to what it might do in someone younger. This interconnected decline is one reason why medical professionals often emphasize lifestyle adjustments in seniors far more than in younger adults. Sleep itself changes as people age, which further highlights the importance of eliminating harmful bedtime practices. Seniors often experience lighter sleep, shorter REM cycles, and more frequent awakenings during the night. These changes already put the heart at a disadvantage, as quality sleep is crucial for repairing the cardiovascular system and keeping blood pressure steady. If a senior adds a harmful bedtime habit on top of these natural sleep shifts, it compounds the problem. The body may remain in a state of chronic sleep debt, which has been linked to elevated inflammatory markers, arterial stiffness, and higher risks of heart disease. The vulnerability here lies not just in the presence of one bad habit, but in how it interacts with the natural aging process and makes recovery much harder for the body. It's also worth noting that seniors metabolize substances differently. A bedtime habit involving alcohol, caffeine, or even late-night snacking has a much stronger effect on a 65-year-old than on a 3-year-old. The liver processes alcohol more slowly, caffeine lingers longer in the bloodstream, and high-sugar snacks cause sharper spikes in blood glucose, followed by crashes that disturb sleep and put stress on the vascular system. These metabolic shifts magnify the consequences of seemingly minor choices, which is why health experts often warn seniors about underestimating the power of small habits. At age 60+, vulnerability is not simply about being weaker, it's about how every choice carries more weight because the body cannot adapt or bounce back as quickly. Hormonal changes also contribute to this vulnerability. Melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, tends to decrease with age, making it harder to maintain consistent sleep cycles. When seniors engage in habits that further suppress melatonin, such as exposure to screens right before bed, it deepens the problem. Reduced melatonin not only disrupts sleep, but has also been linked to higher risks of heart disease and metabolic disorders. Cortisol, on the other hand, may remain elevated later into the evening, particularly if a person experiences stress or anxiety close to bedtime. This hormonal imbalance creates the perfect storm where the heart is forced to work harder when it should be resting, leaving seniors vulnerable to cardiovascular complications. Another aspect of age-related vulnerability is the decreased elasticity of arteries. With stiffened arteries, the heart has to pump harder to circulate blood throughout the body. This means that any factor that raises blood pressure at night, whether it's poor sleep, stress from late-night activities, or unhealthy snacks, places immediate strain on the heart. For someone in their 30s or 40s, the arteries might expand and contract more easily to accommodate fluctuations, but at 60 plus, that flexibility is reduced. The long-term result of repeated strain is a higher risk of conditions like left ventricular hypertrophy, where the heart muscle thickens in response to the extra workload. This condition makes the heart more vulnerable to arrhythmias, heart failure, and sudden cardiac events. It's also important to recognize the role of cumulative exposure. Seniors have lived decades of life, often with years of dietary patterns, lifestyle choices, and stress exposures that have already shaped the state of their cardiovascular system. By the time someone reaches 60 or 70, the margin for error is much smaller. A bedtime habit that might have seemed harmless in their 40s could now act as a significant trigger for heart issues. This cumulative effect underscores why seniors must be far more vigilant about routines and habits, particularly those linked to rest and recovery. The heart has been working for decades, and its resilience has natural limits. Finally, vulnerability at this age is not just physical, but also psychological. Seniors often underestimate their risks because they may not feel immediate symptoms from harmful habits. The absence of pain or discomfort does not mean the absence of damage. Silent cardiovascular changes are common in older adults, and many do not realize the extent of harm until it manifests as a serious event. This psychological blind spot makes awareness crucial. Recognizing that age amplifies the impact of every small decision is the first step toward protecting the heart and ensuring better quality of life in the years ahead. The concept of a bedtime habit seems simple, yet when you look deeper, it can carry powerful effects on the heart, especially for people over 60. A routine repeated every night before going to bed may feel harmless or even comforting, but it can actually create hidden risks for cardiovascular health. The term bedtime habit includes a wide range of behaviors, such as eating snacks late in the evening, watching television in bed, scrolling on a phone or tablet, consuming alcohol or caffeine close to bedtime, or even lying down immediately after a heavy dinner. These behaviors, when done consistently, do not just affect sleep quality, they can directly influence how the heart functions overnight. For seniors, this is especially concerning because the heart is already under more stress due to age-related changes. Calling these habits common emphasizes that many people engage in them without realizing the damage they can cause, which makes them even more dangerous. One of the most common bedtime habits that affects seniors is late-night eating. Having a heavy snack or meal right before bed forces the body into digestion mode at a time when it should be slowing down and preparing for rest. This habit increases heart rate, disrupts blood sugar regulation, and can trigger acid reflux, which in turn disturbs sleep. For older adults, this disruption creates a cycle of poor quality rest, combined with elevated cardiovascular strain. The heart ends up working harder through the night when it should be repairing and recharging. Over time, this pattern can contribute to hypertension, arterial stiffness, and reduced cardiac efficiency. A seemingly innocent snack before sleep becomes a nightly stressor for an already vulnerable cardiovascular system. Another bedtime habit that many seniors adopt is falling asleep in front of a television or using screens late at night. The blue light emitted from devices such as TVs, phones, and tablets interferes with melatonin production, the hormone that regulates sleep. Without enough melatonin, the body struggles to fall into deep, restorative sleep stages. This matters because deep sleep is when the cardiovascular system recovers and blood pressure naturally lowers. If this process is interrupted night after night, the result is elevated nighttime blood pressure, which is strongly linked to heart disease and stroke risk. For someone over 60, when arterial flexibility is already reduced, missing out on this natural nightly dip in blood pressure can be particularly damaging. Drinking alcohol before bed is another common routine that many seniors consider harmless, sometimes even believing it helps them sleep. While alcohol may make it easier to fall asleep initially, it fragments the sleep cycle and prevents the body from entering restorative deep sleep stages. Alcohol also raises heart rate and increases the likelihood of irregular heart rhythms, which is particularly dangerous for older adults who may already be at risk for arrhythmias. Even small amounts consumed at night can have an outsized impact on heart health after the age of 60 because the body processes alcohol more slowly with age. What feels like a small indulgence can create lasting cardiovascular stress. Caffeine consumption in the afternoon or evening is another underestimated bedtime habit. Many seniors enjoy coffee, tea, or chocolate after dinner, but caffeine remains in the bloodstream for hours, stimulating the nervous system and preventing the body from winding down. Elevated adrenaline and cortisol levels caused by caffeine not only disturb sleep but also keep blood vessels constricted, raising blood pressure and forcing the heart to pump harder. Seniors are particularly sensitive to this effect because the metabolism of caffeine slows with age, meaning it lingers longer in the system. This transforms a simple evening beverage into a nightly strain on heart function. Stressful bedtime rituals, such as watching upsetting news before sleep or engaging in arguments, also fall into the category of harmful bedtime habits. Emotional stress triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which directly elevate heart rate and blood pressure. For someone over 60, whose cardiovascular system has less resilience, this nightly surge of stress hormones can become a serious risk factor for hypertension and heart disease. Seniors may not feel the immediate danger, but over weeks and months, this repeated stress response damages blood vessels and weakens the heart. Another overlooked bedtime habit is going to bed dehydrated. Seniors often reduce fluid intake in the evening to avoid nighttime trips to the bathroom, but mild dehydration at bedtime makes blood thicker, which forces the heart to work harder to circulate it. For individuals with pre-existing heart conditions, this added strain may trigger palpitations, higher blood pressure, or even nighttime angina. Although skipping a glass of water before bed seems like a minor choice, it can quietly burden the cardiovascular system over time. Even something as basic as sleeping position can be considered a bedtime habit that affects the heart. For example, lying flat on the back after a large meal can worsen acid reflux, which in turn can disturb sleep and indirectly stress the cardiovascular system. People with sleep apnea, which is more common after 60, may worsen their symptoms by sleeping on their back, leading to repeated drops in oxygen levels throughout the night. Each oxygen drop forces the heart to pump harder to compensate, putting seniors at increased risk of arrhythmias, heart failure, and stroke. Thus, the simple habit of how one positions the body at night has real consequences for heart health. Many seniors also take medications at bedtime without realizing how the timing interacts with cardiovascular rhythms. Certain drugs may elevate heart rate or blood pressure if not timed properly, creating unnecessary stress on the body when it is supposed to be in recovery mode. Taking these medications without proper guidance becomes part of a nightly routine that adds risk rather than relief. This is a critical detail often overlooked when discussing common bedtime practices. The key idea is that what feels like routine or comfort before bed, whether it is a snack, a drink, a show, or a quick look at the phone, can act as hidden poison for the heart in older adults. These habits may not cause dramatic symptoms right away, but for seniors whose cardiovascular systems are already under strain, the cumulative effect is dangerous. Recognizing the impact of these common bedtime habits is the first step toward protecting the heart and promoting healthier sleep patterns that support long-term well-being. The idea of hidden heart danger tied to bedtime routines is something most seniors overlook, yet it is one of the most critical factors in maintaining cardiovascular health. After 60, what seems like a harmless ritual before sleep may actually set the stage for serious heart strain. The danger is hidden because the effects are not immediately noticeable. Unlike chest pain or palpitations that can be felt right away, the damage from poor nighttime habits builds slowly, often over months or years. This makes it especially risky for older adults, who may think their bedtime behaviors are normal or even helpful, when in reality they are quietly stressing the heart. Each night, one of the most insidious dangers is the way certain bedtime habits interfere with the body's natural circadian rhythm. The heart, like all organs, operates on an internal clock, and nighttime is when it is supposed to recover. Blood pressure typically dips during sleep, giving the arteries a much-needed break. When this cycle is disrupted, the heart misses its recovery window. If bedtime behaviors, such as late eating, alcohol consumption, or screen use prevent proper rest, the body may stay in a state of heightened alertness. This leads to elevated nighttime blood pressure, which experts call non-dipping hypertension. Seniors who experience this pattern have a significantly higher risk of heart attacks, strokes, and kidney problems. The hidden danger here is that the individual feels they are sleeping, but the heart is not actually resting. Another layer of danger comes from poor sleep quality caused by these habits. Sleep fragmentation, where a person wakes up multiple times during the night, prevents the body from entering restorative deep sleep stages. During deep sleep, the heart rate slows, blood pressure stabilizes, and the vascular system undergoes repair processes. Without these phases, the cardiovascular system remains in a stressed state. Seniors are especially vulnerable because natural changes in sleep architecture already reduce the amount of deep sleep they get. Adding a damaging bedtime habit compounds this issue, leaving the heart exposed to long-term strain without the person realizing it. Hidden heart danger is also tied to inflammation, which can be triggered by seemingly harmless nighttime behaviors. For example, a sugary snack before bed can spike blood glucose levels, leading to oxidative stress and inflammation in the blood vessels. Over time, this damages the endothelium, the delicate lining of the arteries, making them less flexible and more prone to plaque buildup. Seniors often interpret nighttime snacking as a comfort, but in reality, it can accelerate the processes that lead to atherosclerosis and cardiovascular events, because the effects are not immediate. This danger stays hidden until it manifests as a serious condition later on. Another overlooked danger is how certain habits worsen sleep apnea, a condition far more common in people over 60. Sleep apnea causes repeated interruptions in breathing, which lowers oxygen levels in the blood. Each drop in oxygen forces the heart to pump harder, creating spikes in blood pressure and irregular heart rhythms. Habits such as drinking alcohol at night or lying flat after a heavy meal increase the likelihood of apnea episodes. Many seniors do not even realize they have sleep apnea, yet their heart is being placed under extreme nightly stress. This makes bedtime habits especially important, as they can either reduce or worsen the hidden dangers of oxygen deprivation. Hormonal disruption is another factor tied to these hidden dangers. Poor bedtime practices can lead to elevated cortisol at night, when it should naturally be declining. High cortisol levels increase heart rate, raise blood pressure, and encourage fat storage around the abdomen, which is a known risk factor for heart disease. Seniors often underestimate the role of stress before bed, whether it comes from watching negative news or worrying about daily issues. The result is a hormonal imbalance that silently taxes the cardiovascular system. Because there is no immediate pain or discomfort, this danger remains hidden until it contributes to more serious outcomes. Another hidden risk comes from dehydration, which is common in older adults who avoid drinking water at night to prevent bathroom trips. Blood becomes slightly thicker when dehydration sets in, forcing the heart to work harder to circulate it. This may not seem significant in a younger body, but for seniors with stiffer arteries and reduced cardiac efficiency, it creates nightly strain that accumulates over time. The hidden danger is that dehydration is easily dismissed as harmless when it is, in fact, increasing the risk of clots and heart complications. Medication timing is yet another element that adds to the hidden risks. Many seniors take multiple medications, some of which can raise or lower blood pressure or heart rate depending on when they are consumed. Taking these medicines at the wrong time can disturb natural rhythms and put unnecessary strain on the heart during sleep, because the effects are subtle and not immediately obvious. Seniors may never connect their bedtime medication routines with nighttime cardiovascular stress. Psychological factors also play a role in hidden heart danger. Anxiety, worry, or even overstimulation from evening activities can prevent the nervous system from shifting into its parasympathetic rest and digest mode. Instead, the body remains in sympathetic fight or flight mode, even while trying to sleep. This state keeps the heart rate elevated, prevents blood pressure from dipping, and increases the risk of arrhythmias. Seniors may not realize that their bedtime routine is preventing this crucial nervous system shift, leaving their heart in a prolonged state of stress. Perhaps the most concerning aspect of hidden heart danger is how it builds silently. Seniors can engage in the same bedtime habits for years without symptoms, believing they are fine. Yet inside, the arteries may be stiffening, small plaques may be forming, and the heart muscle may be thickening in response to nightly strain. By the time symptoms appear, the damage has already taken root, making prevention far more important than treatment. What makes these dangers hidden is precisely their subtlety, the fact that the body does not sound an immediate alarm, even as the heart endures nightly harm. The word poison, when applied to a bedtime habit, is not literal but metaphorical, and it carries a powerful meaning that resonates deeply with people over 60. The metaphor is meant to highlight the silent damaging effect that certain nightly routines have on the heart, even though they may seem safe or normal. Poison is something that slowly harms the body, often without detection, and the same is true for these habits. They might not cause immediate pain or discomfort, but over time they weaken the cardiovascular system, increase strain on the arteries, and reduce the body's ability to recover during sleep. Seniors are particularly vulnerable to this form of invisible poison because their bodies already face reduced resilience from decades of wear on the heart and blood vessels. Using the metaphor of poison also helps frame the danger in a way that is hard to ignore. Many people dismiss habits like late-night snacking, alcohol before bed, or watching television in bed as minor indulgences. But when those actions are described as poison, it reframes them as something toxic, corrosive, and cumulative. The danger doesn't come in one sudden strike, it builds drop by drop, night after night, until it creates a health crisis. For seniors, this framing is critical because it communicates the seriousness of choices that otherwise feel harmless. Poison works silently, and in the same way, a bedtime routine that raises blood pressure or disturbs sleep silently erodes the heart's strength without leaving immediate clues. Consider the example of consuming caffeine or alcohol at night. These substances act like poisons to the cardiovascular system of a senior because they directly disrupt the body's natural cycles. Alcohol, while it may feel relaxing initially, fragments sleep, raises heart rate, and increases the likelihood of irregular rhythms. For an older adult, these effects are magnified because metabolism slows with age, meaning the alcohol lingers longer in the bloodstream. Caffeine has a similar effect. It stimulates the nervous system, elevates stress hormones, and prevents the natural nighttime lowering of blood pressure that protects the heart. Both substances work like poison in the sense that they seem harmless in the short term, but silently weaken the cardiovascular system over time. The metaphor also applies to habits that affect breathing during sleep. For example, alcohol or late night. Heavy meals can worsen sleep apnea, which starves the body of oxygen repeatedly throughout the night. Each oxygen drop triggers surges of blood pressure and places enormous stress on the heart. The individual may not notice these episodes, but their heart experiences them as poison, a recurring toxic burden that increases the risk of arrhythmias, heart failure, and stroke. The poison metaphor makes it clear that the harm is internal and hidden, not always visible to the person experiencing it. Another way the poison metaphor is powerful is in its emphasis on accumulation. A single night of poor habits is not the real danger, but the repetition of those habits turns them into a toxic routine. Just as small doses of poison build up in the body until they cause damage, so too do bedtime habits like late snacking, dehydration, or emotional stress before sleep. The heart absorbs these stresses over weeks, months, and years. By the time the damage surfaces as high blood pressure, chest pain, or fatigue, the poison has already done its work. Seniors who understand this concept are more likely to take the warning seriously, because it illustrates the way small nightly choices can create large consequences down the road. The term poison also reflects how these habits attack the body in ways that are often overlooked. For instance, sugar consumed at night spikes insulin and creates oxidative stress, which inflames blood vessels and contributes to plaque buildup. This is not something most people feel right away, but it is equivalent to adding a drop of poison into the system each night. Similarly, chronic exposure to stress before bed, such as watching distressing news or worrying late into the evening, elevates cortisol and adrenaline levels. These hormones keep the heart in a state of alertness when it should be resting. Over time, this nightly hormonal imbalance acts like poison, gradually eroding cardiovascular resilience. Another dimension of the poison metaphor is how it disguises itself as comfort. Many seniors believe a small glass of wine helps them relax, a late snack helps them sleep, or the television helps distract from loneliness. The very activities that bring comfort in the moment are, in reality, the slow poison to their heart. Health, This contrast between comfort and toxicity makes the metaphor even more impactful, because it reveals the hidden cost of habits that seem soothing. The danger lies not only in the action, but in the false sense of safety it provides. For seniors, the idea of poison is especially relevant because the heart is less forgiving after 60. In younger years, the body might recover more easily from poor sleep, elevated blood pressure, or a heavy evening meal. After 60, the arteries are stiffer, the heart muscle may be weaker, and the body's ability to repair itself is diminished. This means the same bedtime habit that once had little consequence now functions as poison, slowly chipping away at the remaining strength of the cardiovascular system. The metaphor communicates urgency in a way that numbers and technical terms cannot. It speaks directly to the seriousness of choices made each night. The poison metaphor also helps highlight the deceptive nature of bad habits. True poison often has no taste or immediate effect, which makes it all the more dangerous. Bedtime habits are the same. They often feel harmless and can even bring short-term pleasure, but they gradually introduce conditions that make heart disease more likely. This silent progression is what makes the metaphor so fitting. By framing these habits as poison, seniors are encouraged to treat them with the seriousness they deserve, understanding that the harm is real even if it is not immediately felt. Senior-specific health focus is an essential lens through which bedtime habits must be understood, because the needs of people over 60 differ dramatically from those of younger adults. Aging changes the way the body responds to stress, food, hormones, and rest, which means that what might be harmless for a younger person can become a serious threat to the heart for someone older. The cardiovascular system in seniors is more sensitive to fluctuations in blood pressure, more vulnerable to inflammation, and less able to recover quickly from strain. That is why habits at bedtime, often dismissed as trivial, take on greater importance when viewed through the perspective of senior health. The same glass of wine, the same sugary snack, or the same screen time before bed has a magnified impact after 60. And this magnification is what makes a senior-specific focus absolutely necessary. One of the most significant differences for seniors is the natural stiffening of arteries that comes with age. Elastic arteries in youth can accommodate fluctuations in blood pressure more easily, but stiffened arteries increased resistance, making the heart work harder to pump blood. When a harmful bedtime habit elevates blood pressure, even slightly, this added resistance places significant strain on the heart. For seniors, every nightly rise in pressure acts like a repeated micro-attack on the cardiovascular system. A younger body might absorb the stress, but a senior body cannot. This makes bedtime choices critical, as they can either promote vascular relaxation or add to the nightly burden. Metabolism also shifts dramatically after 60, slowing down and becoming less efficient. Foods or drinks consumed late in the evening take longer to process, and the body struggles to manage spikes in blood sugar or the stimulating effects of caffeine. This means that a piece of chocolate, a late coffee, or even a heavy meal has a more prolonged and disruptive effect on an older adult than on someone in their 30s. Blood sugar spikes at night lead to inflammation in blood vessels, while stimulants linger in the bloodstream, keeping the heart in an alert state instead of allowing it to rest. A senior-specific focus acknowledges that the timing and type of food or drink before bed is not just about comfort, but about cardiovascular protection. Hormonal changes with age further reinforce the need for a senior lens. Melatonin levels decline, making it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. Cortisol levels may remain elevated into the night, keeping the body in a stressed state. A harmful bedtime habit like screen exposure suppresses melatonin even further, while stress-inducing activities keep cortisol high. This double impact leaves seniors more vulnerable to high blood pressure and disrupted heart rhythms. Younger adults may recover quickly from a night of poor sleep, but seniors face cumulative damage. By focusing specifically on senior health, it becomes clear that bedtime routines should be designed to restore hormonal balance rather than disrupt it. Coexisting medical conditions are another reason why seniors require a different focus. Many older adults live with hypertension, diabetes, kidney disease, or high cholesterol, all of which compound cardiovascular risks. A bedtime habit that raises blood pressure or disrupts blood sugar can have a cascading effect when layered onto these conditions. For example, a diabetic senior who snacks on sugary foods before bed not only worsens blood sugar control, but also fuels inflammation that accelerates artery damage. A hypertensive senior who consumes alcohol at night risks further elevating blood pressure, increasing the likelihood of morning strokes. In a senior-specific context, bedtime habits are not small lifestyle choices, they are potential triggers that interact with existing health issues in dangerous ways. Sleep disorders also become more common after 60, particularly insomnia and sleep apnea. Sleep apnea in particular places immense strain on the heart by causing repeated drops in oxygen levels during the night. Bedtime habits such as drinking alcohol or lying flat after a heavy meal make apnea episodes worse. Seniors who do not realize the connection may unknowingly fuel a dangerous cycle that erodes heart health silently. With a senior-specific focus, even subtle habits are seen through the lens of their potential to worsen these age-related disorders. Transforming the conversation from general sleep hygiene to targeted cardiovascular protection, medication use, is another senior-specific factor. Many older adults take multiple prescriptions, some of which influence blood pressure, heart rate, or fluid balance. The timing of these medications often overlaps with bedtime routines, and interactions with habits such as alcohol, caffeine, or dehydration can create risks unique to seniors. A medication designed to lower blood pressure may not work as effectively if combined with a late salty snack, while diuretics taken at night may disrupt sleep with frequent urination, creating fatigue that indirectly stresses the heart. Understanding these interactions requires a focus that is tailored to seniors, rather than applying generalized advice. Emotional health in seniors also shapes how bedtime habits affect the heart. Loneliness, anxiety, or depression can make unhealthy habits more appealing at night, such as eating for comfort, watching television late into the night, or relying on alcohol to fall asleep. While these choices may provide temporary relief, they strain the cardiovascular system and deepen long-term risks. Younger adults might bounce back from such habits, but for seniors the cumulative impact is much more damaging. A senior-specific approach recognizes these emotional triggers and frames healthier bedtime alternatives as both heart-protective and emotionally supportive. Even physical changes like muscle loss and reduced mobility influence how seniors experience circulation. During sleep, poor muscle tone in the legs, for example, can make it harder for blood to return to the heart, increasing the risk of swelling, clots, or discomfort at night. Habits such as lying in certain positions or avoiding hydration may worsen circulation. By addressing these issues specifically for seniors, bedtime routines can be adjusted to support healthy blood flow and reduce strain on the heart. This might include elevating the legs slightly, ensuring hydration is balanced, or using relaxation techniques that promote vascular health. Ultimately, a senior-specific health focus reframes bedtime habits not as casual lifestyle choices but as critical factors in cardiovascular resilience. Every action before sleep interacts with the unique physiological, hormonal, and emotional realities of aging. For younger adults, poor choices may simply mean feeling tired the next day, but for seniors they can mean elevated blood pressure, disrupted circulation, or a heightened risk of serious cardiovascular events. Recognizing these differences creates a powerful framework for protecting the heart and optimizing sleep in the later decades of life, where every choice matters more and every habit carries greater weight. Senior-specific health focus highlights how every aspect of life after 60 must be viewed through the lens of aging physiology, and bedtime habits are no exception. At this stage of life, the heart, blood vessels, nervous system, and metabolism function differently than they did decades earlier. This means that routines before bed carry a greater weight, because the body does not recover or compensate as easily as it once did. The same bedtime habit that a younger adult may overlook can become a direct source of strain for an older heart. Understanding the unique vulnerabilities of seniors allows bedtime habits to be reframed not as casual rituals, but as powerful determinants of cardiovascular health, energy, and longevity. What may seem like a harmless routine often acts as poison to an aging heart, while mindful adjustments create immediate and tangible protection. One of the defining realities of senior health is reduced cardiovascular flexibility. Arteries lose elasticity with age, forcing the heart to pump against greater resistance. Even a modest rise in nighttime blood pressure can become dangerous because the vessels cannot expand as they once did. Habits such as eating salty snacks, consuming alcohol, or staying mentally overstimulated before bed all contribute to elevated blood pressure during the night. For a senior, this is not a minor inconvenience. It is a nightly burden on the heart that compounds with time. A senior-specific focus acknowledges that what might have been tolerable at 40 becomes hazardous at 70, making bedtime practices a critical opportunity for relief. Sleep itself changes with age, and this difference adds urgency to bedtime decisions. Seniors spend less time in restorative deep sleep and are more prone to awakenings throughout the night, since deep sleep is the stage where blood pressure drops, heart rate steadies, and circulation improves. Missing out on it means the heart never receives its nightly recovery. Harmful habits such as screen exposure, caffeine intake, or emotional stress delay entry into deep sleep or fragment it once achieved. A senior-specific focus recognizes that every disruption has amplified consequences because the baseline ability to achieve restorative sleep is already reduced with age. Protecting sleep through better habits is therefore a direct act of cardiovascular preservation. Another key factor is the prevalence of chronic conditions in seniors, which interact with bedtime habits in ways that cannot be ignored. Hypertension, diabetes, and kidney disease are especially common, and each makes harmful routines more damaging. A senior with high blood pressure who consumes alcohol before bed risks amplifying pressure spikes, while one with diabetes who indulges in sugary snacks triggers inflammation and vascular damage overnight. A senior with kidney disease who avoids hydration to reduce nighttime trips to the bathroom may inadvertently thicken the blood, increasing clotting risks. These interactions show why a senior-specific focus is not optional. It is essential to recognize how common conditions amplify the effects of seemingly ordinary bedtime choices. Medication use also distinguishes senior health from that of younger adults. Many seniors take prescriptions for blood pressure, cholesterol, or circulation, and these medications interact with bedtime routines in critical ways. Alcohol can interfere with medication effectiveness. Late meals can delay absorption, and dehydration can alter how drugs are processed. Seniors who do not align bedtime habits with their medication regimens may be unintentionally reducing the effectiveness of their treatments. A focus on senior-specific needs ensures that bedtime routines complement rather than undermine medical therapies, improving both sleep quality and cardiovascular protection. Emotional health plays a unique role in the senior experience, particularly as loneliness, stress, and worry become more common with age. These emotional burdens often surface at night, leading to habits such as watching television late, using devices for distraction, or turning to food or alcohol for comfort. While these habits may provide temporary relief, they impose direct stress on the heart and circulation. A senior-specific perspective reframes emotional coping mechanisms as opportunities for healthier alternatives that calm both the mind and the heart. Practices like breathing exercises, light stretching, or calming reading are not just soothing. They are protective for cardiovascular health at a stage when resilience is lower. Circulation also changes with age. As muscle tone decreases and blood tends to pool in the legs, bedtime habits that worsen circulation, such as lying flat after a heavy meal or remaining dehydrated, can lead to swelling, clots, or restless discomfort. Seniors who adjust their routines, such as elevating their legs slightly, ensuring hydration, and practicing relaxation support, smoother blood flow and reduce strain on the heart. Unlike younger adults who recover quickly from circulatory disruptions, seniors face higher risks, making these simple adjustments far more consequential. A senior-specific lens highlights the connection between circulation and bedtime, something often overlooked in general health advice. Hormonal balance is another area where seniors differ significantly. Lower melatonin production makes it harder to fall asleep, while cortisol levels may stay elevated later into the night. Harmful bedtime habits like screen exposure suppress melatonin further, while stress keeps cortisol active, leaving the body in a state of alertness. For seniors, this imbalance translates into higher nighttime blood pressure, restless sleep, and added cardiovascular strain. By focusing on senior-specific needs, bedtime habits can be tailored to restore hormonal balance using calming activities, dim lighting, and consistent routines that help the body transition more smoothly into rest. The fragility of the immune system in older adults also makes bedtime habits more critical. Poor sleep caused by bad routines weakens immune defenses, raising the risk of infections that can further stress the heart. Seniors with weaker immunity cannot afford repeated nights of compromised sleep, as each one erodes resilience. Bedtime habits that support uninterrupted rest, steady circulation, and reduced inflammation become essential tools for protecting not just the heart, but the entire body. The senior-specific focus recognizes the interconnectedness of these systems and how one night's choices ripple into broader health outcomes. Finally, senior-specific health focus underscores that every bedtime decision is magnified by the context of age. Younger adults may recover from poor choices in a day or two, but seniors live with narrower margins of safety. Each night of strain accelerates wear on the cardiovascular system, while each night of restorative sleep strengthens resilience. Bedtime habits thus represent one of the most direct, daily opportunities to safeguard the heart. By tailoring routines to the realities of aging physiology, seniors can transform bedtime from a hidden danger into a powerful ally for circulation, heart health, and overall well-being.